session, sorry, I should have asked if y'all. We're ready. Regular session board meeting is called to order for May 15th, 2017. Mr. Weiss, would you mind leading us in a prayer?
Did you talk to Matt earlier?
I did not.
I volunteered to pray.
Well then, chance on. Sorry.
There's the thunder speaking.
There's a joke in that.
All right. Dear Lord, thank you for this time where we could come together and just for another beautiful day on this earth. Just pray that you guide us as we make decisions for our children. Amen.
All right.
All right. I recommend approval of the agenda for May 15th, 2017.
Motion.
Second?
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Did you say I have an emotion?
I have an emotion, but that's not what I said. I only have
All right.
one, it's angry.
All right, I did want a few updates here. We have, tonight we have our next community engagement meeting for our strategic plan. Tonight will be at Madison County High School. They will start gathering there at 5:30, and then the leaders and facilitators, and the full meeting will start at 6. So I know Mary Louise and I are going. You guys are welcome to come, and anybody else is welcome to join in. We also have graduations coming up next week on the 23rd. Sparkman High School will be at 3, Buckhorn at 7, and on the 24th, Hazel Green is at 3, Madison County High School is at 6, and New Hope's at 8. And you guys will be sitting on the stage we got seats for you for all of those ceremonies. I know before we've kind of left it, schools kind of created their own seating chart, and so anyway, we standardized that a little bit. We've been systemic in that approach. So that's always an exciting time, so come ready for that. Now, Carrie is going to kind of help me out with this next update here about, we had called a special meeting on Wednesday, May the 17th to accept the bid for the Hazel Green HVAC to try to get that on and started for this summer, but that is on pause now.
Yes, sir. The Alabama Building Commission passed a rule 3 or 4 years ago. They have to review all plans and they have to approve them and send you back the approval letter with comments. And usually what they do is they approve almost every project, and they'll have 10, 15, maybe 20 comments that says, change the hot deck, rail, curb not needed, or whatever. It's usually nothing major in changes. However, you cannot bid a project, you cannot have a bid accepted date on it prior to them approving it. Therefore, they had not approved it, so as of today, as of about noonday, we backed it up to Thursday to bid it. Called the State Department, the Alabama Building Commission, explaining we have got to get this done. It's very time critical to get this stuff done this summer. So what I need is a board meeting sometime after Thursday, after 3:30, to approve this bid, hopefully within a couple of days, so that we can get a notice to proceed with the contractor to go ahead and order the equipment. Some of the equipment takes as long as 6 weeks to get in. So you look at that, we're almost in the middle of June just getting the equipment in place.
So Wednesday afternoon is too soon. That's when we had scheduled, right? Wednesday afternoon is too soon. That's
Yeah,
out.
we can't do it Wednesday afternoon, and don't want to say this, but I just got a letter from the Alabama Building Commission literally 10 minutes ago. Came in and said they approved it, but we bumped the bid back to Thursday already earlier today, because they expect us to get it tomorrow.
Rebump the bid back.
So we can't pull the bid back up today.
Carrie, I appreciate you being very respectful of everybody's schedule and calendar. So we need to, is Thursday afternoon going to be too early?
As long as it's after 3:30, 4 o'clock, or either, Thursday or Friday.
So Thursday evening is a New Hope community meeting?
New Hope 6.
I don't know if anybody else is planning. Or we can do it maybe a Friday morning. Would that be the two options? Sparkman's Awards Day is Friday at
I thought that was tomorrow.
9.
Senior awards?
No, Sparkman's Award Day is tomorrow morning.
It is tomorrow.
I'm thinking. Scratch that. So,
Who all's going to New Hope? Is anybody else going to New Hope besides Ms. Stowe?
I've just come from there.
me too.
I couldn't make it.
And we could meet here,
We-
maybe at 4:30 or something. That be
Yeah,
easier
if-
for Nathan?
If we're just, we could just meet. We could just meet here. 4:30?
Are we talking
Is
Thursday?
that too early?
Thursday.
4:30's fine.
I'm good at 4:30.
I'm good.
Okay.
Gary, Thursday at 4:30 here, does that work in your schedule?
So we need to change the announcement.
That'll work.
Here, do you think this project will be done over the summer, or you think you think that?
Yeah, I definitely think 90% of it, well, all the classrooms will be put in back place, all the hallways be put back in place. We did talk to Darrell Long about the gymnasium. Of course, just have two gyms on campus. The gymnasium may be one area that we don't complete the first day of school, but it will be about 2 or 3 weeks there in August. We'll have it done for sure, but we know we're going to work through back to the gym. And that would be the only thing that's not completed the first day of school.
Okay.
And he's aware of that, and it won't impact his students.
Priscilla, you can just amend the announcement there, and we'll just have the same agenda, just,
But it will be here versus Clark.
yeah.
While we're on schedules, can I bring up something? Do you want to bring up the leadership and the June 29th?
Let's do that.
While everybody's got a calendar out?
Yeah. You want to lead that discussion?
Okay. It's my understanding that right now we have a June 29th special session at 5:15 that is primarily for personnel, correct? Just to have one before July 1st. We also have a leadership meeting the morning of the 28th, is that correct?
Already, the 28th, yeah. Already,
Yes, and-
yes, you're invited.
If I'm not mistaken, y'all, we don't have that email yet, do we? Or do we?
The Summer Leadership Academy is the 27th and 28th, and I haven't got the invitation to you, but we want to invite you to have breakfast with the principals on the morning of the 28th from 7:15 to 8:15, I believe are the times, at AdTrain, where we're doing our Summer Leadership Conference, so that would tie into the request for that special session board meeting to vote for the personnel agenda.
So that was the question, is whether the 5 of us would mind staying or doing a board meeting that morning while we were at AdTran, as opposed to coming back again Thursday night.
Good for
Is
me.
everybody?
I'm fine.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, and then, of course, we'll have to have a place that if any public came, they,
Yes, ma'am. We'll work with AdTrain to make sure we have a space for that.
okay. And I have one more. June 12th is the meeting right before AASB. Do you think we'll need that June 12th meeting?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Not that it's all about me, except for when it is, but I can't be there on June 12th. As long as everyone else is comfortable with that, I'm fine with nothing.
Should be.
But I just wanted to make sure that there's not 3 of us that aren't going to be there, since it is the week of AASB.
So Nathan, looks good on your calendar for Monday?
Okay.
The
All right,
12th.
then we'll leave that one
The 12th is still good.
and change.
Is that a 5:15?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as it's at 5:15, I'm good.
Okay.
Do we need to put that back a little later to 5:30? Would that make it easier for you?
Just put it 7 since you're not going to be here, right?
Yeah, put it whatever you want, I ain't gonna be
That
here.
should be fine.
Y'all can have it 7 in the morning,
I'll
what if
be
I'm
in
not gonna be here?
Birmingham that day, but I should be back.
You
I'll
have
be in
what?
Birmingham that day, but I should be back.
We just need 3,
Okay.
right? It's just me, you, and Sharon.
So is an iffy travel time right there. Okay, so we're switching to June 28th morning.
And then
And this
canceling the
week-
29th.
And canceling the 29th. And this week, we're changing the 18th to the 19th in the afternoon. Is that correct?
Correct. And we're really just moving the 29th to the 28th.
Right.
Okay. June the 1st, we're still good? That's our next meeting after our meeting Thursday. That was still good.
So the 18th, we're meeting here at
4:30.
4:30. Okay.
That's funny, I already had it
Thursday, is
done.
that correct?
Yes, sir. Okay. We'll have, Priscilla will set up some calendar dates and invite you guys, if y'all use the Google Calendar. All right. That's all I have for informational items.
To go home and fix that.
All right.
Okay. I recommend approval of the financial statement, payment of bills, and cash reports for March of 2017.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 I recommend approval of the following bids as attached.
Motion?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And I recommend approval of the following contracts for services as attached.
On one of those items, I think it's number 4.
Time out. We have to have a motion and then discussion.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. On one of them,
It's the warehouse, number 4.
no, number 3. Is that like a maximum amount?
Yeah, it's a not to exceed.
And so will it be up by hour or by task?
Yeah, Karen, we'll have a, Karen's not
Number
looking at
3.
what we're doing here, but yes, there will be a log for
Karen can't
tasks
hear.
that we'll report to, we'll also send it to you guys too, on what exactly.
Turn the
that-
air off.
So you guys will get a detailed
not
report,
linked?
kind of by hour report with Karen.
Sorry, I just can't hear anything that's been said so far.
That's all right, I spoke for you, Karen.
We just spent a lot of
We
money.
just.
Thanks for the car.
You approved the financial statements and I didn't even know it. I'm
Hey,
just-
thanks for the piggy bank.
Number 3, the contract number 3
Yes, sir.
is a not to exceed.
Right.
You'll basically be
It's
a
a
rec-
monthly, however, he'll track his time.
Yeah, so it's not a flat,
So it's an hourly rate of some
it will basically, yeah, be hourly
Hourly,
daily.
not to exceed.
Yes, it's not to exceed. We did not set it up hourly though.
It's more for a daily or,
It's a monthly.
A monthly.
Just like we did Ms. Roberts and the others in
There you
that
go.
same in that similar capacity.
So you're
We
gonna
pay
get
them a
2,000.
monthly fee, but they keep up with their time.
so we'll have that reported to you guys.
Well, how would you compute it if there's not a rate?
It's based on it's based on a monthly rate that we've
So-
agreed to pay him per month for May and June.
So-
Regardless of what he's doing.
Well, I mean, he's going to be working, of course, but no, it is not set up hourly at this time. If we need to, we can.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if that's something you guys would prefer, we can do
Well,
that.
regardless of the number of hours, so if we work 10 hours or we work 30, is it still the same?
Yes.
Still the same.
We can tweak it.
Okay.
Yes. So you guys have a preference? Would you rather it be kind of on an hourly basis or on a,
Well, I just want to make sure we got something for it. I mean,
yeah, I do too.
so I'm trying to
I
like
agree.
control it, I guess.
And if we weren't,
But
it
it's
it
not
wouldn't
an
be
hourly
here.
rate. Typically, your professional services are not. However,
Could we set parameters perhaps?
we can set
Like,
parameters, and
yeah.
it is
Must
not
work
to
at least
exceed.
this, but not to
It's absolutely
exceed.
not to exceed. Yes, ma'am.
But must maintain at least a certain amount of hours, maybe with that.
Well, I mean, it's summer.
that's his hourly
I mean,
rate.
it's, like, what's going on? What are we going to be getting for our money? I mean, I just don't really understand.
Well, on the, if you guys would prefer a daily, we can do it 3 different ways. And we've done contracts several different ways with other professional development and things like that. I mean, it's been, hey, we want professional development for aspiring administrators 2 days a week. So in this, we're expecting about 3 days a week, 3 to 4 days a week of work with that. If we wanted to do a daily rate, and so if it's a half a day, we can do that. We can write that way. We can do it on an
A
hour.
daily rate would work better than an hourly rate. But
The what?
a daily rate would work better than an hourly rate for that. If we want to do that and
Yeah, and it would still be a not to exceed, obviously. I want the not to exceed, and that's for 2 months, but
You can do a daily rate not to exceed
let's do that.
this for the life of the contract.
Yeah, so let's do a daily rate on that,
Okay.
that's right.
We need to bring that back then, or just?
It would still be a not to succeed, but it would be the semantics of how.
Okay, this amount.
Yeah,
Right,
you're
Mr.
authorizing this amount to be contracted, a not to exceed contract. And so we'll write the contract to be on a daily rate.
And he'll only work when he needs to work.
Yeah, when we task him with something.
So it could potentially be less. than
Less.
that. It's-
Yes, I would
Most likely.
anticipate it to be less.
Y'all done with number 3?
Next question, please.
I just need to know what number 4 consisted of. What does that look like?
Dan, do you? I lost
Dan
Dan.
went out.
What's that?
Turn the air on. I can't hear.
I think he went to try to make the air.
I think that helps with code of conduct printing and all of those things that have to go.
I think that was what, last summer, it seemed like we
Mr. Evans can
had.
explain that one, but
So-
we have so much more printing in the summer than we do
Yeah.
any other time of the year.
And he would
Secretary
explain
Collins
how
had
that staff used to be 10 people in the warehouse and now there's 4. And so what this does is it
Oh, wait.
now allows it to be, to contract for the
Stuck.
busy times when we need them.
The air conditioner
So-
won't turn off.
There's a lot of moving desk and cleaning things up that, a lot of what the maintenance work goes into that in the summer, so the warehouse helps with that, so. Dan around, do you want to, see,
Yeah. I'll answer for them, we need it. Whatever it is. We just like to find it.
okay.
Pull the plug.
Are you getting cold?
No, he just can't hear.
I can't hear it.
Oh. Feel the need
But
to
you'll know
tap
if I get
dance.
cold, I'll bring a blanket in.
No, I'm not very good at electrician. That's the question.
It's,
No.
do you have a copy of the contracts here, Mr. Evans?
I do, sir.
Okay, number 3 was kind of the question.
Number 4.
Number 4.
I'm sorry, number
We're off
4,
3.
we settled on number 3.
In the summer, we have one, well, year-round, we have one person who prints. She's a nice little 60-year-old woman, about 5 foot tall. She is responsible for printing several million pages this summer. What we're trying to do is get somebody to work in the summer. This is the exact same thing we did last year, to pick the boxes up, carry the paper, do that type of
Student.
stuff. We've gone from a warehouse staff at one time that had 9 to now has 3 people.
It's off by 1. I went from 10 to 4, but I was close.
Yeah, but she is our printer, and she's running 2 machines that run 105 pages a minute. Code of conduct's 1 million pages. Free and reduced lunches, 20,000 copies. Dibbles for 10,000 students. All that is responsible by one lovely little old lady. If you tell her I call her old lady, I'll say.
Yeah, we're live.
But,
man.
so this is a high school graduate, who's going to do the bulk of the lifting and stuff to help Terry.
This full-time? I mean, it should be working 35?
She'll work, basically, we try to limit it to, 20 to 25 hours a week, depending on circumstances. But hers is an hourly rate, $10 an hour. She works, she gets paid. She doesn't work, she'll do a standard time sheet, just like everybody else. She'll, basically do under, I'll be the one signing your time sheet, so you can count and she'll work her hours.
So is this another not to exceed that amount? Is that what that is as well?
Yeah, that's,
Because that amount wouldn't be, it would be less than that, I would imagine, right? Okay.
Could be.
yeah, you are, so the board, and you act, are authorizing that to be the amount for a person.
Gotcha.
So if we don't need them that much, or, and it happens all the time, where what we end up contracting somebody for is less than what.
Well, and the reason I put that amount was because if code of conduct's coming up soon, if something comes out of the legislature, we don't get approved till July the 1st, we end up working round the clock down there, and she'd have to work a lot more hours. So I didn't want to come back to you in July and say, oh, by the way, I need another $1,200. It's not going to be that much, and it's going to be $10 an hour no matter what. But, I'd rather err on the side of not having to come back and ask you.
Thank you, Dan.
Yes, sir.
there any other questions or discussion concerning the current motion to approve contracts for services? In that case, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. On item D, I approval of the, I'm sorry. I recommend approval of the following personnel items as submitted.
Motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Is this both lists at one time?
Yes.
Well, I'd just like to say that, just speaking for some of my schools, these certified, non-renewed, non-tenured people are some excellent teachers. And it just saddens me to see, you know, that we could possibly lose them to another system or, because they're excellent.
So part of those reasons there is when we have, you know, a federal class size reduction,
I know.
they have to be renewed. But right now, we don't know what's going to happen with our title funds.
I know.
And we're quite nervous. But the ones that are excellent, we want to really, we'd love to get them back in our system.
I understand the reasoning for it. I just, you know, these are people.
That's all.
Can you
They've
go
done a
through
great
the
job.
reasons? I don't really know.
The reasoning of.
What all
So,
circumstances would generate?
Title II funds, you have Title I funds and Title II. Title II can go to professional development and to class size reduction units. So what we generally do is try to budget in maybe 4 to 6 class size reduction units. And we take, after we do staffing, a lot of times when people move in, some classes get really big. You may have 36 people per class. So if there's a school that have 2 teachers with 36 students per teacher, we'll award them a class size reduction unit. That's a federal funded unit, so it has to automatically be not released at the end of the year because we don't know what the budget's going to be the next year. So we have 6 of those, 6 this year, so all of those are released. But what's really nervous is next year, there's talk of Title II being zeroed out from the Federal Department of Education. We're hearing there may be a continuous resolution, which means the same thing next year as this year. Even if they do that, we're hearing a potential, Karen Jensen's not here, is she? We're hearing a potential kind of caveat in Title II where they're not going to allow it to be used for class size reduction unit, but while you're going to have to use it for PD if you have it. So that's what we're hearing. Karen went to ASBO training last week, Karen and Ken, and their federal, I don't want to call anybody out, but there wasn't much detail in the federal program section of your
Not yet, in the
conference.
State Department.
So
They
we're,
didn't know any more than we did
know,
last week.
the federal budgets every time, they find that, well, we'll just go 2 more weeks, pass the budget. That affects us because the Department of Education is funded out of that. So until they pass that budget that comes out, we're kind of in limbo. So what happens is we have teachers that we're letting go that are really good.
What about, weren't they gonna increase the 4th to 6th grade amount?
Yeah, and we're hoping that the Senate passed the education budget, and the House changed some stuff, and they passed an education budget. So this is our state funding. So when there's 2 budgets that are different, they have a conference committee, and they have 3 people from the House and 3 people from the Senate, and they just iron out the differences. They're supposed to meet tomorrow, and we hope to have that budget done by Thursday. If not, the Governor Ivey will have to call a special session where they have to come back and pass an education budget. And that's where they basically go into overtime. There's been so much posturing in the House over the autism bill. I mean, there's an autism bill that passed 100-0 in the House. It was being held up in the Senate. Like, they wouldn't sign it up out of committee because, and I know I'm live and recording here, over politics. There are certain bills that the Senate wanted the House to approve, and so they're basically saying, we're just gonna hold up everything. I mean, and I was in Montgomery last week presenting, to the State Department, and while it was there, it was literally both sides. You had Republicans filibustering Republicans, which was bringing a halt to everything because there's only so many days of legislators in session a year. And so if they can drag it out, it just kills any potential bills that are held up there. So it's kind of a showdown there, and our budget's kind of is held up. So once that budget passes, we'll kind of know what that means for our teacher units. We have a pretty good idea because we've seen both the House and Senate versions. But, so we expect them when they come to conference that it will be similar to that. But we did not, we don't, Karen's very conservative, and she can't hear me over there with the little thing, but Karen, we wait for that budget to be passed before we,
For our revenue side,
yeah,
absolutely.
or plug that in.
So we let people go assuming that we weren't going to get smaller classroom sizes.
Correct. And if we go back and we end up earning more units, then we'll add those back in.
The allocation, it appears that we will receive something for 17-18. However, we were told that it would be reduced. So I don't even know if they didn't have any idea how much of a reduction. So it's just 6, we might be able to only employ 4. We just don't know. But every year, any temporary funds or our title monies, our Title II money, they're released in the spring until we know. In sometime in June is when we typically receive the preliminary allocation, and then we can plan from there.
So like these teachers that got released that are good, that are Title II, and I guess they're non-tenured, right? So let's say we get the funds back, they come back home. So now they have a second year tenure, or do they just
Well,
get tenure?
yes, if it is a continuous enrollment, they'll get, that first year will count. If they're reemployed, because there wasn't a break in their service. Did I say that right, Ken? So, but they're likely, there's other jobs that are open, so they're likely going to apply for those jobs that are open right now and probably will not wait to see what the title funds will look like. So, because even if it is a title funded position, it's going to be automatically cut at the end of the year.
What happens after they do, if they get renewed or come back and they get tenure at some point? Are they just ripped at that point? If they do cut the funds and we don't get the money back, how does that process work?
I think there might be some confusion as far as the federal class size. The federal class sizes for this year, for the 16-17 year, they may very well not be the same places where the federal class sizes would go for next year. So you might have them at, we'll just say, at Hazel Green Elementary might have one this year, but their staffing may be fine, and that same, one of those 6 may be at the Madison Crossroads or somewhere else where there's a larger need, because what you have to look at is all the local units, all the foundation units are placed, and then you have to look at where the greatest problems are. So if this school has, 2 first grade classes and they're averaging 32 in there, and they're supposed to get 18, and this other one only has 26 and they had a federal class size less, the 32 has to be fixed before the 26. They don't necessarily stay in that same school. So those teachers, they may move around. They may stay at the same school, just depending if that's a greater problem. But Mr. Solly, when he looks at them, he takes all those 6 and he looks at where are the greatest needs across the district first, and he prioritizes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those 6 get used first, and they may not be in the same places as they need. So that's why those units kind of remain temporary in their release, because we don't know that they're going to be there next year. And as Mr. Massey discussed, we really don't know what our federal budgets are going to look like. Dr. Jensen, I believe, is going to the meeting tomorrow, so we hope to have some more information. Does that help?
Thank you.
At the elementary school level, how do you determine how many PE and computer lab people you get?
So at the elementary level, we're staffing them on their earned units from their enrollment, their previous ADM. So, for every 20 to 25 students they drop, they kind of lose a teacher unit. But it won't happen until the next year. Well, that next year is now. For PE, there's a matrix where you got to have, you can have 1 PE teacher or 2, but if you have 1 PE teacher, you got to have a set amount of PE aides in there for every certain amount of kids, and there's a matrix for that. So if you have one PE teacher, you may need 3 aides, depending on how many kids are in there at any one time. If you have 2 PE teachers, you may just need 1 aide on there. I think most of our elementary schools just have 1 PE teacher.
And, you know,
Yeah, so I don't think any of our elementaries have 2.
So that's a state-driven, how many PE aides you have is state-driven?
Driven by the
number of the number of PE aides per school.
PE teachers.
Madison Crossroads is the only one that I can think of off the top of my head that has 2 PE teachers. But they're our
Based on
largest
ADM.
elementary based on the.
Yeah, they have
the size of
900
the
some
school.
kids.
The ADM is that great that they would
And-
just.
And for computer aides, I think it's 500. Was that the number? If you get 500, you get 2 computer aides? Was that our number? Because that came up in staffing, because we had a school actually drop below the threshold and lost a computer aide.
So that's, so the State Department of Education is driving this, or just
No,
local?
not on the computer aides and support for PE is the, and Tim is setting up for he's our expert on this, is setting up for a strategic planning meeting tonight to answer this. That number, I think, is required by the state. Because they don't want you to have 1 PE teacher for 80 kids at one time.
Mhm.
So it's, for the supervision issue there, you've got to have a set number of aides. And I can get that matrix to you.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Okay.
Any other questions or discussion concerning the personnel actions? All those in favor, please say.
I wanna-
Okay.
Sorry, it's all new to me. So that, there's a long list, like right here, all these people. So is it all driven by the principal, or is it driven from central office, or how is this work?
So I had conversations with each principal about each one of these teachers on there. So it's done different ways. Before, directors, we had directors of elementary and middle high schools, they would have conversations with principals about it. I felt like since it was really my recommendation, I wanted to have a conversation about it. But I consulted also with our directors also on those.
So is it
And-
like you
and
have to
with the principal.
cut so many people, or is it?
Well, no, some just, we tell my directive, and this is hard, this is really hard to do, but in doing what's in the best interest of kids, if they're not an expert teacher or on their way to being an expert teacher after year 2 or year 3, we direct the principals, this is a non-renew, open it back up, and if that person comes back and applies and they're the best person for them, hire them back. And so that's kind of, what you see, the most of the names on this list are doing that, because, once it's 10 years old, it's not a lifetime contract, but it's pretty close to it. And we just want to make sure on those, we're very careful about that. So it is,
So it's not so much ADM driven, it's.
That's correct.
Okay.
there's some schools in there on their non-renewals, it was on ADM. Some schools lost 3 or 4 teaching units. So they had to
So
cut
it's a
3 or 4
mixture.
teachers. It was a numbers game.
Okay.
That's right. And we could talk.
Okay.
Is there any way, I guess you don't want to specify that, but is there any way we could not necessarily have the reason why, but
Well-
just some kind of
So we have documentation on that.
well, not necessarily performance issues, but the ones that are ADM related versus not. I guess just a matter of,
Yeah, we can go
Separating.
through each school and show you the plus or minus on units gained or lost on there. I would say we probably would not do that on individual people. Like you wouldn't want to, if a school lost 1 unit, but they're releasing 2 teachers, you wouldn't want to say, well, this one's because of the numbers and this one was because of performance issues.
So the teacher never really has a clear, they don't walk away going, I know why this happened. They're just sort of like, well, I don't know why.
Sometimes, it's, Ken, do you want to help me out here?
You're one off.
You're not required, non-tenured teachers are not required to know why they've been released. That's by the law. They do not have to be told. There's various reasons, and let me give you a scenario. You may have a school that actually by ADM standards, when we get our staffing, we reduce them to second grade units. But their second grade units may be all tenured. But they have a non-tenured and a fourth or a K or something like that. So they would have to release one of those non-tenureds and transfer a second who's tenured into one of those positions. So when you start getting into saying, you're going to cut a second grade, the principal understands they have to cut a teaching unit, not necessarily a second grade teacher, because in that situation, they're all tenured and you can't cut one of those. So there's a lot of variables that go into the changes, and sometimes they'll have, like, let's just say they do have a non-tenured in a second grade, and that's where the cut is. But they might have a teacher who's not performing very well, and they would rather cut that in a third or a fourth or something, because their second grade teacher, even though they're not tenured, is a better teacher than one. So there's a lot of those things, and then there's shifting that goes on after the fact after that. That's what makes this agenda so critical, is there's so much going on, and that's why your agenda is so large with pre-employments, because those were temporary units. For everyone who comes in after October 1st, they're temporary and they're automatically released at the end of the year. So in order to keep them, they have to the principals have to basically re-employ them for the next year. That's why your agenda is so great with the re-employment. So those are people that were in temporaries that aren't being cut that are being brought. So you can kind of see the massiveness. I mean, there's probably between the 200 plus agenda items and the other maybe 200 or so on. We're talking about 400, actions that have transpired in the last 3 weeks.
Right.
So just the vastness. And at that point, I'm going to take this opportunity to say that the four ladies in my office are phenomenal at what they do. They do a great job to do this and have it correct without, that's 28 sites plus all of our district sites, and keeping this right between support certified and who needs to go where and where the cuts have to be made on. But you kind of see that it's not as simple as just saying, you lose 2 second grade teachers, so you have to go and cut 2 second grade teachers. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Does that help?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think this year it's complicated because we don't have a budget out of the state. We don't have we don't know what our federal budget is going to look like. But I think it would be helpful to all of us, but especially to the 3 new people. That one sheet that you went over with us last year that shows how many, units we've been allocated,
Okay.
and how the difference between the years, and, that kind of help everybody understand
Yeah.
how principals made that decision of what they would do.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, I'll set up a
Yeah.
time and.
And I don't know if y'all have that right now.
We do.
Since you don't know anything about anything. I mean, y'all know something, something, but when it comes to money right now, we don't know anything.
Yeah, so it's how our schools are staffed, so we can.
Been a long
kinda
day.
Go over that. And you have to give notice before, the law says you have to give notice before the last day of school. So that's why this meeting is Monday instead of, later. And it's the reason it's really the only big item on the agenda too, because I know this is a big deal.
Are there any more questions or discussion regarding the personnel items? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. With that, we're done, correct?
That's it.
And y'all need to get to New Hope, correct?
Madison County High School.
Madison County. All right, in that case, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Man, I got one question. I know you gotta run. Sorry, quick question. Can you explain one more time, I know you explained it, the new process for the assistant principals and how you plan to bring those potential
As
applicants
the air
in?
comes back on.
Yeah, so we are going to change a little bit of the process on hiring assistant principals. We have a lot of openings right now, and so we wanted a way to be able to get kind of the greatest impact of that. So instead of one aspiring administrator wanting to apply to 11 different potential openings and interview 11 different times, we're going to host those interviews here. We're going to divide it up with elementary, middle, and a high school group, and invite any principals to come in, but especially those that have openings. And And from those interviews, we're going to tier the candidates. So we may have a top tier of candidates of 6 or 7 candidates and have 3 elementary openings. And then basically have our elementary schools then work with that tier if they wanted to do a follow-up or to choose from there. And we'll kind of decide that in kind of a group effort, because you may have the top candidate that everybody wants. And so that's, we're changing that format up a little bit this year. So we're going to be, we met about it this morning. We're going to be working on it tomorrow, and I think Thursday and Friday will be our elementary and middle school, and high school on Monday.
Middle school will be Thursday, elementary will be on Friday, and high school on Monday.
So if somebody was open to be an administrator at any grade level, they have 3 days of interviews instead of a dozen, around the different schools. So we think it will be a good chance for our administrators to really see all the good candidates in one spot.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, I'm off to see the wizard.